The Brandon Peters Show may contain explicit language and detailed plot points. For more information on the show, stay tuned to the end of the episode. And now, here's Brandon.
Welcome back to the Old Space Show. I am Brandon, and this is my co-captain, Joe.
You know, sometimes when you're old, you need a little extra space.
A little extra space never hurt anybody.
It's true.
This installment of Old Space Show continues our episode-by-episode travelogue through the second season of Space 1999, where the moon is knocked out of orbit, wandering through outer space, the population of its human-built colony, hoping to stumble upon a new home. Today, we are talking about the 19th episode, the Lambda Factor. It was just one Lambda, but I had to.
A pretty young Alpha technician dies a horrible and unexplained death. Dr. Russell's experiments reveal that one of the crew is possessed of paranormal mental powers and is trying to take control. Moonbase Alpha.
This one is directed by Charles Crichton. It's written by Terrence Dicks, who us Doctor Who fans call God. Guest starring Deborah Follander, Jess Conrad. Terrence Dicks, the writer of this, passed in 2019 recently, but he is if you're into Doctor Who, you know who Terrence Dicks is. He was the script editor during the John Pertwee era of the show, though he began writing and working on scripts during the end of the Patrick Troughton, his final season, including the 10-part War Games serial, and he left during the Tom Baker era, penning a couple during that. He wrote the legendary Five Doctors 20th Anniversary Special, and in terms of novelizations of episodes, he wrote a gajillion of the Target novelizations, which were a way when people didn't have VHS or reruns, they picked up novelizations of the Doctor Who serials, and that's how people missing episodes. That's how people knew what happened in them that were wiped from the BBC archives. Target novelizations existed. Basically, with those two, they would add scenes here or there to pad out the requirement of the page allotment, because some stories might be too short and have not much going on in terms of written on paper stuff, running through corridors a lot. But he was one of the best at doing that. He made an addition. There was a kind of a for fun Target novelization short story book that came out a couple years that I have, where they were adding like the little side stories that would happen during certain serials, and he added one really fucking good one to that. He's a legend of British television, of course, with producing scripting, script editor work. Just R.I.P. Dude was brilliant. Even though some of his interviews in his time in Doctor Who, his view on like women characters wasn't the strongest, but
some things don't age well. Mm-hmm.
Him and Barry Letts, the producer of that era, the showrunner of that era, were good yin and yangs. Like Terrence Dicks helped to lighten up the era a bit, and because Barry Letts was very political in what he wanted to do, so they kind of in the middle made some of the best stuff you'll ever see there. And they had the challenge of having to keep the Doctor stranded on Earth during their time as well for it. And they created the character of the Master. That was one of their big things, as well as the Sea Devils and Solarians. A lot of cool stuff in their era. But yeah, Terrence Dicks, Space 1999, pretty awesome.
A lot of Doctor Who DNA in 1999.
Yeah,
I mean, it's not the first time we've referred to Doctor Who for screenwriting or directing or what have you.
Yeah, we've had polar ends of we have Terrence Dicks here. We had a couple weeks ago Pip and Jane Baker. So right. There's like two ends of the spectrum in terms of writing prestige for Doctor Who have been a part of this. And of course, I feel like if you want to be like in TV acting and stuff, like being in the UK during the like 60s, 70s, or maybe the 80s was like awesome because you were just like hanging out and like, you want a part over here? Let's go over here. Like if you got into one show, you probably got to do a bunch, like it seems like it was just a, the biggest like play stage around. It probably was a lot more difficult than that, but it just seems like
it sounds like it'd be fun, but yeah. Probably a little difficult. Yeah. Probably you see him bouncing from Hammer to ITV.
Right, exactly. I would love that.
Over to BBC,
Granted,
sounds like a screenplay. Let's write it.
Yes, let's do it. But if you were like doing stuff like this, it wasn't cool back then, and you were always looking for better, and then you'd be like some senior citizen getting called up to do a convention where you're finally getting appreciation for something years ago. So
it's like comic books. It was kind of a cultural gutter or whatever. So it's only being appreciated now.
I mean, Comic Cons used to be just glorified vendor booth halls. Like that's what a Comic Convention
used
was.
To be about comics. I remember that. Anyway,
indeed.
So the Lambda Factor. Oh wait, no.
Well,
I want to talk about.
I got Deborah Follander, who's in this episode. She was in the movie Jabberwocky and also Chips, and then Conrad. Jess Conrad, lots of TV, including Miss Marple series and a lot of shows. I was like, I don't know that. He played himself in the Great Rock and Roll Swindle with the Sex Pistols, which was pretty cool. That's cool. Show notes, Jim. Show notes. Have we ever had show notes? We have never.
I don't remember show notes. No, I don't remember show notes. But please,
show notes. It was announced like a week or two ago, but we haven't talked about it on the show here. Catherine Schell, Maya, on the show, has been cast as Grandma in Rob Zombie's new iteration of The Munsters, coming soon to a theater near you.
Wow.
Pretty cool.
Awesome.
That more cool street cred for Catherine Schell with, Space 1999, James Bond, Doctor Who, The Munsters. I think she's got something else under her belt too, but she's got some pretty cool cred here and there.
Awesome.
So can't wait to see that. Very looking forward to that movie, actually, because Rob Zombie is a big Munsters fan, and I think he's going to do it some justice. I hope. So here we go. On to the Lambda Factor. So we begin. Moonbase Alpha is traveling through a region of space, as it normally does, which they have named the Peace Zone because of its lack of nearby stars or space storms.
And as the episode goes on, it kind of becomes the bitchy zone.
It is a bitchy.
Everybody seems like really bitchy this episode, like especially Koenig. Like it just seems like when they fly into this cloud, it's just like everybody gets irritated with one another.
This is true. It seems like to lack any potential threat. All should be well on Alpha, but is not. They are troubled by sporadic disturbances and petty irritations. One source of irritation is Sally Martin, who can't seem to complete her store's inventory on schedule. As a result, she has been ordered to complete her duties during her recreation period. While Sally is doing her inventory, objects start to move about the storeroom and a wind appears. Sally attempts to leave, but the doors close, shutting her in. She then seeks shelter from the tempest in the subroom, but the door shatters and the storm follows her in. She screams as it exerts tremendous force upon her, which I called, is this murder on the Moonbase Express or death on the Alpha? You decide.
Murder on the Moon tonight. Ironside is his trickiest case ever. The log entry at the beginning of this really threw me. Because usually when Russell's doing the log entry, it's like, well, we're passing through this part of space, blah, 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 and we're doing this, blah, 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 blah. And it kind of sets the scene for what's going on, right? And this is like, well, we're passing through this part of space, and here's this girl.
Right, yes.
Doing menial chores. Let's look at her for a moment. It's like, why?
Isn't she, and I quote, pretty?
Yes, it says pretty right in the description. So yes so.
Pretty guy.
It just seemed really odd. And then oh wait, she's like, I don't know. It seemed like she was attacked by a poltergeist.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like people were off screen throwing things at her.
That's probably what was exactly happening.
Yeah, I know, definitely. A little behind the scenes stuff there.
So,
but the wind, it's weird because she gets hit with a wind machine and slow motion at the same time.
Yeah.
That's what really makes it bad. Wind machine is one thing, but slow motion too? It's too much.
This means it's serious. So meanwhile, John tosses and turns as this as his sleep is disturbed by a vision of a woman accusing him of killing her.
Time out. Can we talk about his bed and his bedwear real quick?
Oh, well, sure.
Okay. Sorry about that. He's wearing teal silk pajamas, pants and tops, with a matching sheet.
Yes, it's slightly different color, but he picked them.
Matches. It's satin as well, or silk or whatever. And his bed looks like an IKEA couch made of acoustic baffling.
No, it does. It's
like it's this weird like futon-y shape. But it's like all these rails. It looks like so uncomfortable, but acoustically sound. If you wanted to record an album in that couch, I think you probably could.
It's science fiction-y, but is it comfortably? You decide.
He uses tiny matching sheet with his silk pajamas, sleeping on this impossible couch. It's like, oh my God, no wonder everybody's going crazy in Base Alpha. And then like the head of Yeardley Smith floats over him. It's frightening.
She's like, saying, "You killed me." But Helena calls him and wakes him up and says, "Hey, you gotta come down here." And he arrives and learns of the mysterious circumstances of Sally's death. He's clearly agitated as he orders Helena and Tony to provide him with whatever information they can so he can begin an investigation. He goes to Command Center only to find that the sensors are malfunctioning due to a strange space phenomenon. He snaps at Maya as she struggles to give him an explanation with minimal information the sensors can provide. So it's called the Lambda Factor, but as Jim mentioned, it's the bitchy factor.
Yeah, like Koenig's really mad, and then like Russell shows up with the autopsy on Sally. And she can't find anything. He's mad at her about that. Like, what the hell, man? He's just mad about everything. Like, everybody just seems really up each other's butt this episode.
They're all out of chill pills on Alpha this week.
Yeah.
Tensions are also high in the recreation era as George Credo, I love these random names, assumes that Carl Renton is cheating when he keeps beating him at one of the games. Tony arrives and breaks things up as George attacks Carl physically. He sends them both on their way, then tells Sally's ex-fiancé Mark Sanders and his current girlfriend and roommate of the now-deceased Sally, Carolyn Powell, of her passing.
All right, first of all, we come into the recreation room. They're playing three-dimensional chess. They stole that from Star Trek, first of all, okay?
Right.
On the other table, this gambling game they're playing, it looks like a light bright, like a randomized light bright.
Yep.
And there's like no rules to it all. It looks like it might be, I don't know, digital craps or something. I couldn't even figure out what they're gambling on or why he was getting mad, right?
It's beyond your comprehension, Jim. It's space in the year 1999.
I guess so, dude. It's way in the future. I can't handle that.
Yep.
And then Tony is the tough guy who beats it up, who breaks it up. Like both these guys have like a half a foot on Tony, and he's like, "All right, you break it up, or I'm gonna come in there."
Yeah, like where's Carter? That's like his job.
Not intimidating in any way. Yeah, you need Alan Carter for this, you know?
Yeah. Yep.
It's like later, I mean, I don't mean to jump ahead, but like when Koenig and Tony are doing the interrogations, like they're trying to do good cop, bad cop, and Tony's not intimidating in the least. And like Koenig's supposed to be, it's like good cop, good cop. It's hilarious. I'm sorry, go ahead.
So Helena has finished her autopsy and tells John that Sally's body was shattered internally, with no evidence of any type of weapon having been used. Haven't we had like deaths happen internally before on the show? Like this isn't the first time like, oh, they died from the inside, but they look fine on the outside.
It's all the different dumb ways people have died on this show. I'm surprised anything shocks them anymore.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, she was shattered internally. Yeah, big deal.
Big deal.
Whatever.
John and Tony, that's Koenig, they were a couple.
Together.
Like,
all right. Yeah,
hey, Team Joni. Yeah,
get it.
You guys, okay. Meet with Saunders to discuss her relationship with Sally. They interview Carolyn next, and she becomes hostile when Tony asks her about her research on some sort of pressure device. And I'm like, okay, yeah, she isn't suspicious at all.
Oh, no. And the next scene especially. But like this is like Law and Order, Moonbase Alpha.
Yes.
Boom, boom. I expected Briscoe to come out. Like, look, I'm not as forgiving as my friend over here.
Tony goes to her lab to look at the device. When Carolyn shows up, he asks her to explain it to him.
Oh, my God.
She smashes it, and tells Tony that now it can't be blamed for the next murder, and he asks if she is expecting a next murder. She asked him if he isn't.
This whole scene, I didn't get this whole scene at all. They walk in, there's this giant loose coffee, and she's like, "Fine, you want me to explain it? I'll explain it." Just tears it into bits. Here you go. Is that explained enough for you, Tony? Huh?
No,
so
it's not evidence.
That's suspicious. That's not suspicious in any way.
No,
you might not want to turn your eye on her.
So, Alan is investigating the fact that 3/4 of the Eagles are non-operational. He talks to Chief Engineer Pete Garforth, who doesn't understand why engines that test okay on the workbench fail when put back into the Eagles. When Pete is called away, Alan takes a quick look around. Before he can leave, an engine starts by itself and begins to overload.
But does it, though? Because he flips a lot of levers and buttons. He's like monkeying with it there for a minute.
Right.
It's like, I'm just like, I didn't even think it was sabotage at first. I thought Alan was being dumb.
Yes.
It wasn't until they said it, that I realized it was sabotage. And the door was broken. And then a commercial break.
Yes.
So much.
So Alan tries to shut it off, but he can't. He tries to leave, but the doors close and won't open. Tony and Maya pass by and hear the engine. Alan tries to warn them off, but Maya turns into a gorilla, and she pries the doors open and disconnects the power to the motor. And back in Command Center, Maya detects what she thinks are lambda waves coming from the object in space. Helena then identifies the waves and the lambda variant, a wave discovered during research into ESP. Helena begins testing Alphans to see if they are being affected by these waves. With her tests completed, she goes to John's quarters to show him her data. It's late, but he's awake.
Oh, my God. Okay. First of all, ESP was very hot when this came out, right? The whole ESP situation, right. Kreskin and all that. So, of course, they're going to work that into the show.
Found its way into The Exorcist, too. Yeah.
The guy who moves the pinball looks like a young Clive Owen. I wrote that down.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Yes, that guy. Yes, I remember that guy. I thought the same thing. In one angle, like face, like front on, he looks like Clive Owen. Exactly. Clive Owen is a time traveler.
Wow. Yeah. And then the other guy they turned into Uri Geller, he's like bending a spoon, but it's like a future spoon.
Right.
So it's like rectangular flat piece with a little indentation to one side, because spoons have to be that way in the future,
right?
Oh my God, it's just so funny. Oh, it's just great. It's like and then the cards with it's just all the ESP tropes. It was great.
Oh gosh. So she begins to share her findings, but notices that he doesn't seem well. She tries to give John something to help him sleep, which he refuses. He tells her he is afraid to sleep and about the visions that have been terrorizing him. Mark visits Carolyn to tell her that he can't shake the feeling that she had something to do with Sally's death. He tells her that she's changed and it just won't work out. He leaves her. A short while later, the lights dim in the corridor he is walking and winds begin to blow. Maya detects an energy surge from the object over Alpha as Carolyn Powell kills Mark in the same way she killed Sally.
Now, I wanted to mention, first of all, I forgot to mention the Lambda cloud itself kind of looks like a rotating everlasting gobstopper.
It does.
Maybe the outside of a watermelon, that kind of situation. The scene with Helena and Koenig, and especially the scene with Caroline and this guy, I wrote in big letters, so opera acting, because it was like close-ups of their faces with reaction shots and stuff, and I could almost hear the violins. You've changed, Caroline. I can't be with you anymore. I feel you have something to do with his death.
As the moon base turns.
Right, exactly.
Oh, gosh. So when his body is found, Tony is certain that Carolyn is the killer, but Helena asks for another series of tests just to be sure. To be sure. Tony insists on being there. As early reports from the tests are received in Command Center, Sandra tries to pass the information to Koenig, who is distracted by the ghosts of Sam and Tessa.
Oh my God, these ghosts.
Two pizza-faced friends he was forced to leave behind on a mission to Venus when they contract a strange and highly contagious illness. He runs from the room trying to get away from the visions. They
imbue Martin Landau with the spirit of overacting.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Get away! Get away! I can't take it!
Could you imagine this shit in season 1? Like, this is just such a wildly different vibe of a show. Like, if this was season 1, they would have this would have been creepier for sure. But this is
Bergman would have been like, oh, no such thing as ESP. That's just bunk.
Yes.
Well.
So Helena finishes her testing with Carolyn Powell, the only one capable of generating the Lambda variant in a room shielded from the object over Alpha. Tony asks Carolyn to come in with him, and she responds by telepathically knocking him, a security guard, and Helena across the room. She leaves.
They really break out the Dutch angles at this point. Like when she goes full carry in this part of the episode.
Mm-hmm. They're ahead in schedule. They got to play around.
Going after everybody.
Right.
Yeah. So a lot of Dutch angles, a lot of weird moving cameras and stuff.
Mm-hmm. As others pick themselves up, Sandra alerts Helena to the fact that Koenig has locked himself in his room and won't come out. They leave to check on John and find him locked in his quarters in a catatonic state. Helena has brought him to medical center where she uses narcosynthesis to help him face and overcome his fears.
I think I saw narcosynthesis open for Ministry at Lollapalooza in '94. Thank you. We'll be here all week. Enjoy the shrimp.
We are narcosynthesis.
Good night. There will be no encore.
They're kicking us out, guys. I've got to go home. You have to go home, but you can't stay here. Sorry. Shirts are for sale in the back. Check our merch booth. Tony orders security to stun Carolyn on sight. She easily quells any attempt to stun her and makes her way to command center, where she sits right down in Koenig's chair. Alan tells her she is out of place. She sends him to flight control with a telepathic suggestion and immobilizes the rest of the command center staff. Tony shows up and she forces him to kneel before her and call her.
Oh, man. So cringy. Kneel before me. Crawl like a worm on the floor. I'm like, wow, there are guys who pay $500 an hour in New York City for this kind of treatment. And then... And the way, and they use a real tiger. I don't know if you mentioned the scene with Maya turning into a tiger. Or they used a real tiger.
Yeah,
like they had that really crappy gorilla suit earlier in the episode, but then they come out with a real tiger for this.
Yeah, I mean those aren't cheap. And do they just keep one of those around the set? This isn't the first time we've had a tiger.
Just dial a tiger, I guess.
Yeah, they have
1-800 tiger.
Yeah, she also turns into a chimp and a caterpillar this episode too.
Yeah. Also real animals.
Yeah. Helena's treatment begins to take effect, and John sees his ghosts again. He tries to run, but Helena forces him to face and confront his fears. In talking to his visions of Sam and Tessa, he realizes that his friends knew he had no other choice but to leave him, and that what he is seeing are not the ghosts of his friends. Maya arrives in command center, and Carolyn forces her to change into a monkey, then a caterpillar. She threatens to crush Maya before Tony's eyes, but decides to let her suffocate slowly in a small, clear box instead.
It's more dramatic that way.
Yeah. I did like the line, your ghosts hate you. When Koenig was when he had his Force ghost from Planet Noxzema haunting him.
All I could think of was kneel before Caroline.
Kneel.
And then she makes Tony call her commander and stuff. It's so funny. Oh man, it was great. And then so many explosions and sparks. It's so much product burn off in this episode.
Oh yeah. Oh sure, for sure. So Helena tells John her theory that the object over Alpha is magnifying the emotional state of the ESP sensitives, the two most powerful being Caroline and he, who then use the power of the object to manifest their hatred and fears respectfully. Sandra is forced to call to them that Caroline has taken command and wants to see Koenig. When they get there, Caroline tells them that she is in command now. Look at me. Look at me. I am the Alpha Commander now. Oh, if the show were more popular, that'd be a great meme. Koenig tells her he knows that she wants them to hate her so she can turn the power of their hate against them. But Koenig tells her that they have no hate for her. She screams at him to hate her, telling him that she hates him, but they have no hate for her. With only her own hate to latch onto, all hell breaks loose around her, but no one else is hurt. Carolyn eventually collapses, and the object over Alpha fades away, leaving Carolyn's mind completely blank. How many times did I say hate in like the period of like 3 sentences? That felt like a lot.
I don't know, but like every computer on that command center blew up in that sequence. Yeah. So like, I mean, I don't know whether if they have extra computers sitting around or whatever, but like the whole thing, like nobody gets hurt. You know, Koenig and her don't get hurt, but like the entire place blows up. So there is that.
Right.
And then there's the dramatic part of Tony taking the little plastic box off of my...
Right, yes. Dun, dun.
Straining on the floor. Almost there.
He like flicks it, and it's like, oh, there you go. Got it. Oh, my. In our epilogue, a few quick tests reveal that the Alphans have been returned to their original unmagical selves, something which Koenig does not regret in the least. So, like, this is like Caroline's just cool. They're like, you know what? We're stuck out in space. You don't remember shit, so I guess
totally
you never killed anybody. Yep.
Yeah, you know, that'll be useful. Also, the funny part, you forgot the funny part of the epilogue. Koenig falls asleep listening to Helena talk.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. She's like, oh, because and she goes on and on. Of course, John Koenig falls asleep because, you know, he's a man. He doesn't have time to listen to a woman talk.
This is the second one this is the second, like, end credits little stinger that, like, involved Koenig falling asleep.
Yes, it is.
It's like, well, let's reuse that joke again.
Hey, Martin Landau's a funny sleeper. Who knew? Who knew?
It's a hard life running Moonbase Alpha. Yeah.
Sleeper.
This is one of those running around Alpha, bad guys within type ones, and telepathy. I don't know. I did like the weird camera angles and stuff. Kind of made it like less boring to look at, I guess, than some other ones like it. But yeah. I don't know what would have made this one work better.
I don't know. It just seems like a cash in on the ESP trend of that time, because that was super very hot. And they're trying to bring that in. It's always cool to see like other cast members, but then again, you realize you're never going to see them again, so don't get too attached. And I'm surprised I haven't seen that woman who played Caroline more. She had a really weird, or not weird, but just like an odd look about her, like a very unique look. I just, kind of almost remind me of like Olivia Colman in a way.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it wasn't the greatest stuff. It's, Freiburg.
Yeah. Freiburg era. We gotta, it is what it is. You take what you get, or whatever happens. All right. So, that'll do for another Moon Buggy adventure. In the meantime, Jim, where can people find you?
Well, every week I'm on Nothing's On, the Nothing's On podcast with Earl Taylor and Donnie Salvo, going through the week's worth of entertainment news and reviews of what we've watched and what our listeners have watched. And we always have a really active community there. That's available at the Taylor Network of Podcasts.com, also on Apple, iTunes, Amazon, and wherever your good fine podcasts are sold. Also, HHWLOD, we'll be kicking back into high with the Walking Dead TV podcast as the show starts up in about 2 weeks, I think. The main show begins again, and we're going to be coming to the season finale. We were there at the beginning, and we're going to ride it all the way out to the end. That's at hhwlod.com.
All right. Hashtag Joni. And I'm on Twitter and Instagram at Brandon4KUHD. Written work at whysoblue.com. There's more from the Brandon Peters Show this week, but until then,
Alpha out.
Thank you for listening. The Brandon Peters Show is a Creative Zombie Studios production. Produced by Brad Shoemaker and Brandon Peters. Written and edited by Brandon Peters. Announcer vocals by Jessica Alsman. Theme song by Metavari. Web design and show art by Brad Shoemaker with Brandon Peters. All music and clips featured in the episode are property of their respective studios, and no infringement is intended. Additional information on this and other episodes at BrandonPetersShow.com. For any inquiries, press opportunities, or sponsorship, contact mail at BrandonPetersShow.com. The show is available on Apple Music, Spotify, or anywhere podcasts are found.